Hello everyone, good afternoon from Dhaka and welcome to the second day of Blockchain Economy Summit, Session 6. And today's session is very important as we have decided and we have fixed the topic of this sixth session on IBM blockchain. So today's topic of this particular session is IBM blockchain reinventing telecommunications platform. Today we have with us our special guest, Brigadier General MD Nasim Parvez, NDC, WCPSC, Director General System and Services, BTRC. I would like to welcome sir in our panel. Assalamu alaikum sir, কেমন আছেন?
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম, আমি ভালো আছি, আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, আমরা এই করোনাকালীন সময়ে যতটুকু ভালো থাকা দরকার আসলে আমরা সবাই অতটুকু ভালো থাকার চেষ্টা করছি, বাকিটা আল্লাহ ভরসা. So, thank you, sir, for your time. Now, I would like to invite our next guest. He is all the way from India. We are inviting Mr. Jitan S Chandanani. He is partner and head of blockchain practice in Southeast Asia. Welcome, Jitan, in our session, Blockchain Economy Summit on IBM blockchain.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
All right, great. Now I am inviting our next guest. He is Mr. Solaiman Alam. He is Chief Digital Strategy Officer of Grameenphone. Welcome, Solaiman Bhai, in Blockchain Economy Summit, Session 6. কেমন আছেন?
জি, আসসালামু আলাইকুম, ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে এবং আপনার সব ভিউয়ারদেরকে শুভেচ্ছা।
Great. Next, I'm inviting Jignesh Kumar Karia, IBM Master Inventor and Enterprise Architect at IBM. Welcome, Jignesh, in our session. Hope you are doing well.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
All right, great. Last but not least, I'm inviting Mr. Mujtaba Sattar, Anonto, Chairman of Pioneer People Limited. Welcome, Mr. Anonto, in this last session of Blockchain Economy Summit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thanks.
All right, great. So we are going to start this session on IBM blockchain, reinventing telecommunications platform. We will start with Mr. Jitan Chandanani from IBM about the previous work you have done in Bangladesh. So if we can know more about this existing development, what you have done from IBM. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Imran Bhai, and thank you everybody for actually joining this session. I think we're going to really appreciate this opportunity to talk about the effort that IBM has actually done historically within Bangladesh. And I think the way I would probably want to kind of introduce the session is like the way IBM has been working on blockchain and blockchain-based solutions is a little bit different from how typically technology companies do work, right? I think historically it's always been that, you know what, yes, we've created a software, we created a solution, and let me come and give it to you. And the expectation is that you will implement the solution and it's going to probably solve one problem for you. For example, it could be a security solution, a reconciliation solution, or just something that's basically a customer-facing marketing solution altogether. Blockchains do not work the same way. The idea is that if you have an internal problem which does not require to work with an ecosystem, then that is what the traditional technology solutions actually offer. However, what blockchains are basically used for are problems that are around the ecosystem, where you are working with other enterprises, other corporates, and other participants which are probably not part of your own subsidiary structure. So if all of us or multiple participants in an ecosystem have the same issue, that's where blockchains actually solve. So I think that kind of presented a unique situation to IBM that when we were talking to companies in Bangladesh, we were like, listen, I cannot give you a blockchain solution just for yourself because there is absolutely no use. Can you actually bring the ecosystem together? If the answer is no, sorry, wrong solution. Is it a problem across the ecosystem? The answer is no, sorry, wrong solution altogether. The first and foremost, the most important thing we did with clients was understand if you had an ecosystem-based approach. And one of the banks or one of the non-financial companies that we worked with was IPDC Finance. Now, IPDC Finance is, I guess, one of the growing banks and organizations within the country who are very closely connected to the RMG industry. And much like in India, the industry works very similar. Financing and credit is always a problem if you're not a tier one entity, right? So typically, any of the big RMG manufacturers, they could get credit very easily from any of the banks because you're tier one. But what happens when you go down to tier two? So tomorrow, if I have to make the ready-made garments, what about the person who supplies the cloth? What about the person who actually grows the cotton? What about the distributor? What about the logistics people? The question that came up that if I'm the farmer and I can't get money to even grow cotton, what is the RMG industry going to produce? And when we asked IPDC, will you give credit to the farmer? They were like, we cannot, because there is no credit history on the farmer. There is no paperwork. So the idea was across the entire RMG ecosystem, and this could be a story for any sector. In India, we have done this for the automobile sector. That when you actually had a problem where you actually had the certain parts of the ecosystem being well funded and some parts not, could a blockchain be created where you have transparency of information? A simple example, I am a buyer. I go to RMG tier one client and say, you know what, I need 1 million shirts. And to make those 1 million shirts, there has to be cloth that has to be procured by the RMG manufacturer. That's a tier two cloth manufacturer. For the shirt, you require buttons. That's a tier three manufacturer of buttons. Now, if I want to make 1 million shirts, the RMG tier one, everybody wants to give them finance because to make 1 million shirts, let's assume they cost $1 million. And RMG one goes to IPDC, and IPDC says, of course, we'll give you the money. What happens to tier two when he goes to get finance? 80%, 75%. When the farmer who grows the cotton, when he goes to finance, how much money does he get? Probably 10%. I don't know what levels of interest. Now, it was not that IPDC could not finance the farmer, but they had no transparency or traceability. So the question came, could we build one ecosystem? If the purchase order came from me as the buyer, it went to IPDC. IPDC, I want to buy from RMG1. RMG1, does they have the credit for 1 million? Yes. Okay. The purchase order gets accepted. RMG1 sends it to RMG2. RMG1 is making a commitment. I will buy 1,000 yarns of cloth from RMG2. I guarantee I will buy 2 million buttons from RMG2. All this is being tracked. Now I go to IPDC. IPDC, your transaction RMG2 is guaranteed by RMG1. Now will you finance? The answer came back as yes. And then we went to RMG3. So the expectation was what we did in Bangladesh, we worked with the ecosystem issue. We basically attacked a problem that was across the ecosystem, where the solution was not that I need to give a separate solution to each tier, but one combined solution. And that's, I think, where the first implementation was done. Following that, we've also done implementation for pensions. So basically government personnel, their pensions is basically being tracked, again, to have full traceability. And of course, our expectation is to work with the likes of BTRC, GP, Banglalink to create a telecom-based blockchain, because we believe to really have successful blockchain platforms, not solution, telecom will play the absolutely key role. So that's, I think, what our current state is in Bangladesh.
Exactly. We will know more about the upcoming plan of IBM in coming period of time. Now I'll go back to our special guest, Brigadier General Mohammad Nasim Parvez, to know more about the government's expectation on the upcoming impact of blockchain in Bangladesh. What you guys are expecting in the coming days?
Imran bhai, let me add here. Let Jitan do the presentation, then ask the question.
Is it all right, or like if we can know more about the government perspective, that would be good.
No,
I guess.
Basically, what
Sir.
I'm trying to say.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should I repeat the question? Yes.
No. So should I start, or there will be a presentation?
Yes, please.
First and then we'll talk?
Yes, please. We will go to the presentation next.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Imran. First of all, let me give thanks to Inspiring Bangladesh, and of course ICT Division, LICT project for organizing a wonderful blockchain economy summit 2021, 2 days long. And probably as we saw in the ad, today's topic was probably IBM blockchain reinventing telecommunications platform. So let me also give thanks to all other participants, so Mr. Solaiman and Mr. Chandanani from India and Mr. Jignesh, and of course, Moderator Imran and Mujtaba Sattar. Since I am working in the telecom regulator as the Director General, and I look after the system and services. So actually, I also look after the financial aspects also, like mobile financial service, telecommunications regulatory perspective. That also I understood. So I was giving a very fresh look. I saw the paper that you actually sent to us. Actually, knowing about what's blockchain, why it's so revolutionary, why it's getting so popular. One started with $1, and now Bitcoin has jumped in $60,000 US. I saw it all. So my question is that if it is so good, if it is so transparent, if it is so secure, and if it is so fast, then why actually Bangladesh is still not there? Why the government has not yet actually has given the permission for something like this? So I would try to have absolutely my experience and my personal point of view. If I think about first of all, let's see what are the types of financial transactions, because it deals with all about the financial transactions. It does it the blockchain issues. It is done decentralized way. So the transactions are actually noted in multiple places. There's no way of changing or something like this. So it is more transparent. Absolutely, the technology is absolutely transparent and absolutely reliable, among lesser cost than the banking if you compare with the bank and the blockchain. Now let's put it in the Bangladesh perspective. So the solution is a global solution, but at the same time, any global solution, because the world, though actually we are heading to, or we are actually within the globalization period, and we do have lot many things globalized out, lot many cultures, but the financial practices still each country there are some local practices. So the blockchain solution global, at the same time probably Bangladesh has some local practices actually that also we need to take in. If I think about the like the individual, he needs to transact money. The rich people transaction is one type, the middle class people, even the poor people, even the farmer. Like the organizations as business, corporate, they also make different kind of transactions. The education institutions, SMEs, the e-commerce today has come. As you know, due to the pandemic situation, the e-commerce has been, upgraded by many folks. The e-commerce, the CEOs were telling me that the thing which they thought that will be reaching after 3 to 4 years later, they have actually got the demand within this period, and they are really doing extremely well. In each places, there is a money transaction. As you know, Bangladesh is a digital Bangladesh is our theme, and the government is working very hard to make everybody digitally literate, and then making things all happen. At the same time, we are eyeing, to become a developed country by 2041. All things are directed towards that. So it means that the transaction of the money actually takes time. There are a lot of challenges. Government is every time trying to overcome the challenges. Now, if I think about the blockchain, how it can really place here. So there are three kind of regulator that it has to face. Like there are financial regulator, like the central bank, Bangladesh Bank is own requirement. Then the telecom regulator will come play into role, because the biggest network that somebody is going to use, probably the telecom network or the mobile network, where 17 crore or 170 million SIM cards are being connected. So for the telecom regulator will play in. At the same time, for each transaction, if it is a foreign and even within domestic domain, the NBR will come in, the VAT will come in, the income tax will come in. All these three regulators has a different kinds of requirement. All these requirements, these are now the challenges. Probably these challenges cannot be probably mitigated through this, the Bitcoin system or the blockchain system right now. That's why probably government is still thinking how to do about it right now. Still, we haven't given any. Actually, Bangladesh Bank has not given any permission like that. Now, let me actually cite another example. If you think about the mobile financial service, actually, it was not introduced by government at first. That means this Bangladesh Bank did not take an initiative. Like the Bikash came in and then took an initiative, and probably they start in a small scale. Bangladesh Bank permitted within the framework of the Bangladesh financial regulator. It's connected with a bank and then it started. You see, later on, how much popular it has become, because it has become a necessity. It has shown that it can actually solve many problems which the bank cannot actually do. So it has connected the unbanked people, in the banking system, and it has, helped all the SMEs and everybody for the making payment. Making payment itself is a very difficult thing, which somebody wants. He doesn't want to move to any particular place, or whether for making a payment, before he has to make an arrangement, take a transportation, he has to take his money, go to the bank, and then do it. Now he doesn't have to do that about giving billing and other things. So I don't want to talk about the positivity of the mobile financial system. What I'm trying to say is that because of this, it has got popular. And as you know, the government always tries to remain in pace with the people. So whatever the people likes, the arrangement that is liked by the people, not immediately government supports that. So similar way, I think the blockchain, the positive part of the blockchain, with overcoming the challenges of the three regulator, if it can, be projected in the proper way to the government, I'm sure government is going to like it. So there are some good points for the IBM or the blockchain technology, So the digital infrastructure to do this blockchaining, a country needs to have a wonderful digital infrastructure, which Bangladesh has, So even as you know that we have launched the 4G, there is a coverage of 95%. Actually, the people coverage is there, and geographical coverage is even more than that. So people are using smartphone, like 30% of the people are using smartphone. At the same time, the device, if we talk about the ecosystem, Bangladesh now is producing all kinds of smartphone, up to the the latest mobile Note 20 also is being assembled in Bangladesh. So thereby, these all together is helping a digital infrastructure to go, so the blockchain can start on. Now, what I was thinking is that for the blockchain to get a start in Bangladesh, probably at the private sector or any corporate sector, which is approached to the Bangladesh bank and then get a note that at least for a pilot project, they can start making kind of, the using of the blockchain, and thereby they can show a success of that and how they can meet the other requirements by showing this success and authenticity and the transparency, other things of a particular sector. Probably Bangladesh bank would allow some other sectors to come in, and slowly and gradually probably the demand will come in, and it can also flourish like mobile financial service. So that's what actually I can tell you right this moment. And
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will know more about your thought in coming sessions. So we are going back to our presentation on IBM blockchain. So over to you, Jitan and Jignesh. Yeah.
So thank you. Very good points, Mr. Parvez. Hopefully, I think we should address at least some of those points during our presentation. So again, please feel free to stop us and ask any questions. So if you don't mind, I would actually just like to quickly share my screen in the presentation, please. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet, Jitan.
Okay.
Not yet.
I'm going to just try again. How about now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
You can go for full screen.
Oh, yes, I'll do that. Thank you. Okay. So I think, again, we've already gone through introductions, so just we'll go forward. Just one quick point. Jignesh and I have been connected for pretty much the better part of last 5 years, working across different telecom use cases. Of course, some of the biggest telecom players that we actually have working in India are the Vodafones, Jio, as well as Bharti Airtel, as well as we are part of the overall Global Telecom Blockchain Council. That is, in some cases, again, an IBM internal group for kind of expanding solutions across board. So quite a lot of work that we kind of have done in this space. And again, we'd love to kind of have any questions that you probably have on this space. Let's kind of start about something. And again, these are just facts. Again, we're just stating in terms of what we are seeing a change in generally across the board in telecom, right? And I think I'm actually going to move to this slide first. The expectation is that, you know what, as telecoms are becoming more and more integral part of the overall sector and out of every business, as more and more businesses are going digital, we expect a significant change in the revenue structures of telecoms also. Voice will always be there. There's no two ways. But the usage of data for transactions, especially COVID related, has proved that it's going to significantly increase. A lot of organizations and companies that did not anticipate going digital were pushed into getting digital as a result of what happened for COVID. So in a way, while this view would have been probably a 5-year view, now probably this has probably become a little shorter, that, you know what, in the next 2 or 3 years, these are significant new source of revenue that's going to come up. Also, the so-called others bucket, which is, I think initially was like, fine, we are having like tunes and all and some kind of services and all. But when we're talking to the likes of Vodafone and all, they believe that the others bucket is going to pretty much increase. And that's not just going to be in terms of telecom-based services. The expectation that telecoms will actually get into industries or will be a hybrid across industries, which is not necessarily telecom. The idea of working with healthcare, the idea of working with IDs, to the example that Mr. Parvez said earlier, the idea of working with banking. Because let's be sure, I think all of us are pretty much aware, right, that at least I know for a fact, I do my banking on my phone. I track my health on my phone. I do my shopping on my phone. I track my daughter's school on my phone. The question that we keep asking all the telcos when we go into this discussion is, if everybody is using your service, are you going to be able to kind of make or monetize these pieces across the board? And if you had to improve or add services yourself, what would that services be? And these are just examples of where we actually expect those services to be in. But as different telecom players give us different ideas, some actually want to get into IoT, some want to get into microservices, some want to get into like building platforms. The question is always come back to us, where do we actually start from? Much like the MFS example that Mr. Parvez spoke, likewise, India has something called the NPCI or the UPI platform. It is a brilliant platform. It's not good, it's brilliant. I repeat that again. And technically, when I see a platform like that for money transfer, India does not need any blockchain. India does not need any Bitcoin. India does not need for money transfer only, because our current solution works very well. So when we were talking to telcos that, you know what, the biggest use cases for blockchain coming out were payments, they were like, hold on a second, but do you really need it? And that was the first question that actually got asked, which also kind of made us realize that when we are talking to clients, as well as with regulators, as well as with government participants, the first important point is, what are we actually trying to do? What are you thinking from a vision standpoint? Because if you're going to use a traditional approach of getting one solution for one problem, I think those days are long gone. What telecoms need to kind of start thinking about, and what I would probably recommend, what we would like to opine on with BTRC is, think of telecom as a platform, right? Because today this platform enables all our citizens to work across different transaction types. And today a telecom is such well placed, because when I think of the word platform, you got to think of two examples. There's Amazon. And Amazon is brilliant, right? You can buy, Jignesh can sell red shirts, I can sell blue shirts. Any of you can come and buy red shirts and buy shirts. So it lets you buy and sell. And Amazon is a platform. Then there is Apple. Apple created the iOS. Now it's brilliant. The iOS enables Jignesh to create a fashion app. It let me create a banking app. It lets Anonto Bhai create a physical fitness app. And hypothetically, it lets Imran Bhai create an education app. So is iOS also a platform? The answer is yes. The question is, if you want to create a platform, which platform do you want to create? Do you want to be an Amazon or do you want to be an Apple? And that's actually where the starting of most of these topic conversations come up. Forget about the technology. Let's first create what you want to do. As a telecom player, the main reason you need to understand the platform is basically a solution which on the right hand side as we have, it's got the ability to pull participants in. It needs to basically create value. It needs to basically provide information and exchange at a transactional base in the end. So for you, the ability to create a platform, you also require some soft skills, which is non-technology related, what I have on the left of the screen, right? For me to create a platform, I need deep-seated expertise. Telecom is brilliant, right? Because telecoms have enterprise clients. You cater to education institutions, you cater to industry, manufacture, banking. So you have people who understand how these domains work. Also telecom, today I could be working for a bank or IBM. I use telecom. That means you have proprietary data on how enterprises use your solutions. What me as a user use your solution for. You already always on constantly, basically you are doing innovating. 4G to 5G, what Mr. Parvez spoke about, right? That's constantly a new evolution. You have to be on cutting edge. Most importantly, you have channel access and network credibility. You already on an existing scenario, the telecom players in Bangladesh can reach to 115 million people on day one. Tell me what organization or what sector can do that on day one? No one, except for telecom. And of course, because of how you've actually grown, you understand how big platforms basically are. That means before anybody starts a platform, it's important to consider these requirements. And when I kind of go through these requirements, I generally land as a telecom pretty much works very best. In the middle of that, you need a black box, which is technology. Now, what we think this technology really works very well is, I think, where the answer for blockchain actually comes in. So just quickly summarize, we do believe telecoms need to provide more solutions and more services because that's how future revenue is going to be. But to build those services, you need to start thinking differently. You cannot keep building different solutions. Or you cannot just build one transaction like how Amazon does. You need to think like Apple. I need to build a platform on which I can offer multiple different services, which will not change. Because let's not forget, your clients are going to be the same. Enterprises, your distribution will pretty much be in the same network. Your identification is going to be the same. Your subscribers will be the same. So now how do I create one technology solution which will cater to all of this? And that's when the answer comes across as blockchain. And this is typically where we are actually using. Parvez, I was right? No, technically it's a solution that started off with $1 and now see what is all it being used for. One solution that was used for basically buying and selling stuff today is now been expanded across multiple different coins for different purposes, right? Bitcoin is for transactional. Ethereum can be used in any use case, right? You want to supply chain finance, you want to make tokens, invoice processing, you can use Ethereum. There are also other coins which are very focused on specific, like for digital media rights. And then there are blockchains that IBM works on, which have nothing to do with coin. I actually look at a transaction, I take the transaction, I look at the ecosystem, and I make sure the ecosystem works much better. Like the example of supply chain finance I gave about IPDC. I am making sure that every participant is able to give transparency. They only get the data they actually want or they should be given. For example, the example I keep giving about, right? When I am supplier number 3 and I am selling cotton, there is no reason a tier 1 manufacturer needs to know the price. Plus, I can supply to multiple participants who buy my product. Each of them gets a separate transaction. Not everybody sees everything. The misconception that people have on blockchain comes from Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, all the parties see everything. In a business blockchain that IBM builds, you decide who sees what. Means if I have 20 fields, I can decide 8 fields to the first participant, second field to the second participant, 5 fields to the third participant. And if I have a regulator, maybe they see everything. The business logic can be built and customized. That means if I take a telecom player and I actually use some of the assets that telecoms basically actually have, right? What is the assets telecoms actually have? Today, telecoms can clearly identify every single user. That means all the ID management sits within your current process. Today, telecoms have geolocation advantage. That means I can identify where people actually are. Today, telecoms can basically have enterprise clients. That means all the onboarding is already done. So if telecoms play such an integral role, can they become the basis of this platform? And the answer that we have been getting comes back as yes. And let me just be very clear, what I'm talking is not theory or paper. This is exactly what we are executing currently in India. And that's why we believe this is very much a reality, not a theory paper. The idea is, where do you actually start off? And maybe I guess the best way for us to kind of explain where do we start off is by talking about how we started off actually in India. How the first telecom blockchain network, which currently has 900 million subscribers and 7 telecom players, actually started out, and how we think about expanding it. To do that, I'm going to actually hand it off to Jignesh. Jignesh, why don't you go through the whole UCC example, and then you can basically you can open it up for a discussion also. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So we want to talk about the UCC use case first, right?
Yes, we want to talk about how we started out, and then of course how we're expanding it, please.
Okay.
Also,
yeah, thanks a lot.
also, Jignesh, can you kindly touch on MNP as well, mobile network portability solution?
Yeah, we'll talk about what we can build at the top of it. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the first use case as UCC, and then based on the enablers or the platform reach that Jitan was explaining, I think we'll talk about multiple use cases that can be built over the UCC as an underlying foundation.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think we'll have to go back like 2-3 years back when we were discussing with the regulatory body of India, and we were working with them about what are the potential use cases that we can where a blockchain can be leveraged or utilized from a telco perspective, right? And we discussed about certain scenarios, and one of the use case that came out prominently was around this do not disturb or unsolicited commercial communication, which was a problem in India, right? So earlier what used to happen was that as a customer, I would go back to my telecom operator and say that, okay, I do not want to receive promotional messages or calls for real estate or for a food industry, right? My consent or my preference that I do not want to receive this promotional offer related to this particular brand or this particular industry would go and stay into a regulatory database. Now, that database was exposed to the telemarketers and the brands, right? It was an open information. There was which was available to be accessed by all the telemarketers, right? Now, what the telemarketers would do is that it would take that information, and they were supposed to, as part of the regulation, when they are trying to send out the promotional offer via the telecom operators, they have to filter the customers who had not allowed them to reach out to them for those promotional offers. That was the regulation that was there in place. But what used to happen was they used to take that information and pass on that information to unregistered telemarketers who would then call up individually to the customers and say, oh, by the way, are you interested in service? In spite of me giving that particular consent to the telecom operator, this information was not was leaked out, right? Now, that was a big problem that was happening in India. And if you look at it on the left hand side in the slide, 76% of all these messages were unsolicited, right? Which meant out of 18 to 20 billion transactional messages or promotional messages which were sent out in a single year, 76%. It's a very huge volume. Now, when the customer used to go back and complain to the telecom operator saying that, oh, by the way, I had given you this preference that I don't want to receive any communication from McDonald's, but I'm still receiving that promotional offer from this particular brand. What used to happen was McDonald's at some point used to come back and say, okay, by the way, while you were taking one of the burgers on one of the centers in this particular mall, you had signed a paper which was actually the bill that you would receive, you are open to receiving promotional offers from us. Now, that was not falling under the telecom regulatory ambit as well, right? And that's why you are receiving this problem. The second problem was that the inter-reconciliation between two operators as to who had sent that message to the customer, if it was operator 2, right, that would take almost like 30 to 40 days for from a complaint resolutions perspective, right? And finally, when we went in terms of statistics, there were more than 1 lakh unregistered telemarketers who were trying to reach out to customers and trying to what you call send unsolicited promotional offers to the customer. Now, this was the problem statement when we started discussing with the regulatory body. So what we did was we said that in order to curtail this problem, there are three problems that we are looking at. One is the privacy of the customer's consent or preference. Since it was exposed to the telemarketers and the other parts of the world, they were able to know that Mr. X is given this consent and it was getting leaked to the unregistered telemarketers. The second is in terms of the message that was being sent out to the customer. What was happening was in the garb of transactional message, wherein you get like for your transaction, your OTP is XYZ, there was a certain set of promotional offer which was also embedded within that message. So the format or the template of the message also was dynamic enough. And the third part was in terms of transparency to resolve any customer complaint, which was taking like 30 days. We were looking at that problem statement as well. So what we decided was we said that every information or every preference that the customer gives, that I want to receive a promotional content from, let's say, Sonali Bank, and but I don't want to receive offers from McDonald's. I am open to receive offers from Pizza Hut, would be stored on a blockchain ledger. Right now, that ledger is encrypted. The information that is shared across all the operators within the network that was created was encrypted. Every telemarketer who was planning to send a message or a promotional offer to the customer would have to send the list of subscribers that he wants to target. Now, what the telecom operator or this blockchain solution would do is it would take the list of those subscribers, it would filter that against the customer's consent. It would not tell back to the telemarketer that out of this 100, these 70 are the ones who have given consent or not given the consent. It would not give that information back to the telemarketer. So the telemarketer has no clue as to what part of the customers have given consent and not given consent, right? What it would then do is it would then also ask the telemarketer to tell the message that it wants to broadcast to these 100 or 70 subscribers who have given consent. There was a template which was defined specifically for promotional message, wherein there was what you call, it was scrubbed against the template, saying that, okay, this part of the message is what is going to be targeted towards the customer, right? So that even within the message, even if I'm trying to send out McDonald information for which the customer has not subscribed his or given his consent to, it was getting filtered out there, right? This blockchain solution would then enable only the 70 subscribers who have given consent, also filter out the content that was being passed on as a message, and then give that list to the telecom operators messaging resources to pass on the message towards the customer, right? Now that was more from a privacy, security, immutability, and having control over the message which was being sent to the customer. Now let's say tomorrow, if the customer comes back and says, oh, by the way, I still received a message in spite of you scrubbing all this information, you're still sending me promotional message of McDonald's for which I did not give a consent. What was happening was, now, since every record, every preference and customer related information along with the transactional or promotional message which was sent to the customer, along with the filtering that was done, is available on the ledger, I could go back and do cognitively. There was no manual intervention which was required. We had written an algorithm by which we can identify as to where the problem was, whether the customer's preference was taken into account, whether the template was correct or not, whether the filtering was happening properly or not, and identify as to where the problem was, right? So the resolution was taking within, which used to take like 30 to 40 days, now it is getting resolved within a day or so. Right. So this is what we did as part of the unsolicited commercial communication. I would just take a pause and maybe look out for any questions or queries or comments out on this. Jitan, you want to add anything on this?
No, I think so. I guess just want to add in terms of the role that the regulator actually played, and I think what the telecom players also played. So I think Jignesh outlined the problem statement, and I think the expectation was the regulator, which is TRAI in the case of India, only regulated the telecom players, which is kind of obvious. It did not regulate McDonald's, it did not regulate ICICI Bank or Sonali Bank or State Bank of India or Citibank for that matter, or any other participant. That means the problem was that the action of sending spam was done by McDonald's, but the penalty was being paid by the telecom players. So the question became, how do you make a solution that's pervasive across the ecosystem, which I can benefit all the subscribers, and in some cases bring them under one common regulation? So in a way, I'm not penalizing the wrong participant, and at the same point to maintain transparency and stability, right? Most of the idea was never to disrupt the revenue source of the telecom players. Please be very clear. The theory or the thought process is that this would create additional use cases which would generate much more revenue and not disrupt revenue, which was very important. Again, so it was like a win-win situation for every participant, the regulator to give transparency, the telecom players for additional sources, and for me as an end citizen, because I don't want to be bombarded by spam and being harassed by marketplace. So that's the only point I want to add. I'm going to move to the next slide, Jignesh.
Can you move to the next slide?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so what we achieved as part of the UCC solution were couple of enablers. One was identity. Identity as in who was sending the promotional message, which telemarketer was sending the promotional message, which template was he adherent to, what were the set of subscribers he was sending out. So what I was getting as part of that solution as an enabler was identity, right? I was also able to identify or add an enabler which was named as dispute resolution, because I could trace down from an end-to-end perspective as to where the transaction originated, what was the problem statement, and what was the resolution, right? So what we are trying to point out here is that blockchain-based platform, once you create, you have to start looking at it more from an enabler perspective, right? If I look at identity, can I use the same identity enabler like the example Anonto was giving in terms of MNP, right? My complaint resolution was between two operators. I could identify operator one was sending the message to my customer, which is operator two, which is a customer of operator two, right? Now I have identity of both the customers. Can I use the same identity enabler for a mobile number portability, wherein the customer wants to move from one operator to another? Absolutely yes. It's only a matter of adding few more smart contracts and adding few more business rules, so I can enable mobile number portability at the top, right? Similar to that, asset provenance, right? We can look at some of these enablers as we keep on adding use cases at the top of UCC, that we can build on enablers like provenance, like payment, like what you call a marketplace, right? So just to give you an example, if I were to look at provenance as one of the scenario, right? Today, there are a lot of issues which come in when I try to buy something from Amazon, saying that the product that I bought may be faulty, right? Can I use blockchain to define the provenance of that entire product that is being shown onto Amazon, right? By saying that, okay, I can tell you that this particular mobile which you are trying to buy has been manufactured in this particular factory, and by the way, it was sent via the supply chain, and this is how it has reached to you. This is the dealer information that you have, and say that from a provenance standpoint, end-to-end transaction is traced. That is also possible in this case, right? So these are the set of enablers that we think we should be building at the top of the blockchain platform once you start creating one use case and start expanding it into other areas. Jitan, you want to move on to the next one?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a representation of what I was trying to say, right? So when I said identity management as one of the enabler, business rules as the second enabler, settlements if I were to create as an enabler, and certain regulation. Now if I use these enablers, can I extend my UCC to other use cases? The answer is yes, right? So mobile number portability is one use case in case of telecom. revenue settlement that we do, right? You have a lot of content partners from which you outsource content, which you are selling to your customers, right? Now, at the end of a frequent cycle, maybe monthly or quarterly, you want to do a settlement based on the type of content that the partner has given to you, the amount of views that you have received for that particular content, or the downloads of that particular content, and based on the what you call contract you have with the content partners. Now, can I use the same UCC platform to do settlement? Because we have used the same platform to connect to all the telemarketers. Similar to that, the same telemarketer, instead of telemarketers, we can use the content partners. Use the same blockchain network. Based on the consumption, we can do the settlement. Now, this is within the telco domain. Right? Now, if I extend the same platform using the same enablers and look at any other domain outside telecom, you can see some scenarios out here, right? So you have e-pharmacy. Can I store the prescription that the doctor has given to me onto blockchain and use it within the telecom operator's app, so that I can then make it available to hospitals or to my insurance companies based on the consent that I have given in UCC? The answer is yes. Second example is this corona thing, right? There are talks about that if you have to travel outside the country, you need to have a certain amount of vaccines, right? Of one dose or 2 doses of a particular vaccine, right? Now, when you go and take those vaccine doses, you are given a certificate that you have been administered on the first dose and the second dose. Can I use that? Can I use the certificate information consent that certain, so the airline, if it is wanting to check whether you have taken the first dose or the second dose correctly, can I give my consent to access that particular data related to the certificates using UCC? The answer is again yes, right? So these are certain scenarios that we are seeing outside the telecom operator where the UCC can be expanded upon, right? The third scenario is around the banking industry, right? Now, there are a lot of frauds which are happening onto the banks, wherein some person who has stolen your credit card and is trying to do a financial transaction at a remote location where you're not even there, right? And trying to do a transaction onto the ATMs. Now, can I stop that using UCC? The answer is yes. If I have a banking customer or a bank, so like Sonali Bank, if it works with a telecom operator and says that, okay, if the customer is within is carrying his mobile within a vicinity of 500 meters of this ATM, if I can give you that confirmation that he's carrying his mobile within the vicinity of that particular ATM, if I give that consent, only then the ATM will be able to dispense the cash beyond a particular threshold. If that can be enabled, the amount of fraud cases can go down. So there are n number of possibilities that we can look at which can be built over UCC using these enablers. Right, Jitan, you want to add anything on those use cases or enablers?
No, I think just my only one point was the e-pharmacy and the vaccine and the COVID use cases. We are currently in this. So I think I think this is to Imran Bhai's first question. What are we doing in Bangladesh? Imran Bhai, we actually had a discussion with Brig and some other parts of the government, because through Anonto, in order to kind of understand what is Bangladesh's vaccination program, how will vaccination certificates be actually managed, and also the idea that today I may probably be able to give a vaccination to everybody, but what is the medicine distribution system, right? You may probably have medicines in the pharmacies in Dhaka, but if those medicines are required in the rural areas, how do you actually find out what the storage is, where you can actually send? Because I'm sure you have online pharmacies and you have a logistics distribution system, but how do you connect the e-pharmacies to the actual crowd in the smaller towns? This is currently a use case we're discussing with NHA, which will be built on exactly the telecom blockchain platform, because the expectation is the same. Today, just a sample example is, I am a patient, Jignesh is the doctor, and there's a government which basically has authenticated Jignesh's license. Jignesh can send a prescription on my phone number or assigned to my phone number using SMS or using a smartphone or using a voice recording, and all of it will flow through this blockchain platform, will go to the pharmacy, or I will be told what pharmacies have the stock, and the pharmacies can then deliver the stock using the current e-com solutions that are actually there. So using the telecom base of ID, of identity, using the telecom base of managing a settlement and the governance and the privacy, these platforms are being gradually extended. All very much currently actively happening in the country at this point. I will actually stop and open it up if there are any questions or thoughts till now in terms of what we presented.
Yes, can we hello, can everyone hear to me?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes, we
we're going to Mr. Solaiman Alam of Grameenphone to know more about his expectation about the upcoming impact of blockchain and how Grameenphone can utilize this transformational changes for a broader scale. Solaiman bhai.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, brilliant. So first of all, I think once again, thank you for arranging this, and I think this is a very timely session that we have, and would say that seeing Brigadier Nasim sir here, who is representing the regulator for telecoms, is actually giving me really good vibes that, you know, not only the private sector but also the public sector, the regulator, everybody is serious about this and everybody is thinking about this. So I not only want to thank the organizer but also Brigadier Nasim sir here present also. So I actually, I mean, when I was listening to the presentation, I was having quite a few questions, and I don't think time will allow that. But let me just first give my thoughts, and then maybe if time allows, then I can ask a few questions. Blockchain, as everybody and Brigadier Nasim sir, he also said in the beginning that it is not only the Bitcoin, it is not only the financial transaction that is there, it is the technology, right? And it is giving certain transformational benefits that you presented. And what I, at least from my part, what I know is that it is heralded as transformative as internet itself. So that means it can change in many way the way we currently interact, the government currently regulates and provides different services to its citizen, and also definitely the business and the business models around, right? And all of these very rightly mentioned that it's going to have a platform and a network to really operate, and the telecoms are kind of at the center of it. But as far as I understand, and also looking at the presentation, it seems that most of the telecoms, and I'm not going to talk about only Bangladesh as a market, but most of the telecoms across the globe are maybe a bit behind in adopting this transformative technology. These startups across the globe, there are so many to name, but across the globe, and especially also in Asia, in different corners like Singapore and China and all these places, they are playing a kind of a pivotal role to take this forward. In fact, IBM themselves, they are heralded as one of the pioneers in this. So I think telecoms have kind of got to get into this yet. And the current benefits of the resolution, the identity, and the payments, these are all good and fine, but these are going to radically change when the perfect storm hits that we are seeing. I mean, 5G. Everybody is talking about 5G in the coming year or years. Then when 5G is here, the overall IoT and coupled with that blockchain, it's going to create a tremendous amount of opportunities and going to really change the way that we are doing business currently. So I will maybe just take one more minute to talk about or expand the use case that you guys were talking about when you were talking about the vaccination, right? I mean, maintaining the cold chain and making sure that every step of the way it is maintaining its integrity and it is maintaining its authenticity and all of these things. This can, I mean, just imagine one of the major problems in Dhaka, and everybody here who resides in Dhaka can empathize with me, is that what food are we really buying for our family and children, right? How can we ensure the wholesomeness of the food? I mean, when it is coming from the field to our table, how can we really ensure that every step of the way it is being not being tampered with and it is arriving at our place wholesomely, right? And this 5G is going to give you possibly unlimited devices connected together. That can create a revolution in the overall IoT. And if we can utilize these use cases, it is not going to be only business. And I do not talk only from a business point of view. I'm talking as part of the society. It's going to really transform the society if we can harness it and we can actually partner it not only with the other private sectors but with the government, with the public sectors. I really liked the way that you opened this seminar, where you said that if you want to do blockchain by your own, forget it. It's not going to happen. It is the ecosystem, everybody playing their own part, everybody together that can actually create this, and then the society can take the real value out of it.
Right.
So I see that Grameenphone being at the let's say forefront and a leading technology service provider in this country, with the direction of our regulators and the government, we have been able to let's say be always at the forefront of technology, even basically expanding the 4G network, but also with blockchain and 5G, we have clear and present intentions to be leading that and helping the society reach its potential. This would be my commitment from Grameenphone side, and hopefully the same will be, let's say, resonated from across the ecosystem. So I will take a pause here. I will take a stop. This is my comment, but I had a few questions. Maybe I can, at a later point in time, in other settings, I can raise them. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Solaiman Bhai, for your overview on this. We've got a question. I have popped it up into the screen. It's from Rushan Rahman. Can blockchain be used for health service dissemination seamlessly across the country? For example, telemedicine service. Anyone can take the question. Then we will come into our last part of the session. So this is the question.
Sure, I'll take the answer. The answer is, can it be used? The answer is yes, it can be used. But is blockchain the only answer? I would say it is a supporting technology. I think in some cases, let me also kind of answer this question in terms of first what I understand of telemedicine. I'm definitely not the expert on all medicine and healthcare, but the idea of telemedicine is pretty simple, right? Technically, if I need a doctor and I'm currently sitting, let's say, in Dhaka, right? I need a doctor who's actually sitting, let's say, in a different country. Let's say he's sitting in London, specialist actually altogether. What do I do? Of course, I'm not going to fly there. Could I actually have my entire discussion with the doctor? Can I get prescription reports being shared? Can I get my health reports being shared? Can I get a platform which does all that, right? That in some cases is what telemedicine for me is. And the doctor in London should have an ecosystem where if he gives me a prescription, he tells me where to get it. There is no point him telling me that, you know what, oh yeah, you know what, this is a great medicine, you can get it. Well, I know I can get it in London. Where do I get it in Dhaka? So when we talk of telemedicine, my expectation is that's what I understand of telemedicine. It should be an end-to-end. It does not need to be just an online consultation. Because if I want to do an online consultation, I can do Zoom, I can do WebEx, I can do pretty much StreamYard, or I can do multiple different online things. But that's not what telemedicine goes, or that's not how you need to build a solution. You need to build a solution that's end-to-end. More importantly, let's say a particular medicine is permitted in the UK, but it's a restricted substance back in Bangladesh. How do regulations actually line up? How do my patient data lines up all together? That's where the ecosystem comes into play. And that's where blockchain comes together. So the idea that can telemedicines be done using blockchain, as blockchain will be one component of the technology, which will connect ecosystems, which will make sure, first of all, the doctor is a permitted doctor, that the prescription data sent by the doctor is being sent to the right pharmacies, that the regulatory or the Ministry of Health and Welfare is okay with this whole transaction actually happening. And most importantly, finally, me as my patient data is not being shared by somebody abroad without the consent of the actual government. So blockchain will form the connection layer on which you will put different technologies like video calling, video zooming, you can put analytics or whatever else to kind of bring the whole system together. But the answer is yes, it can, but requires again the ecosystem to kind of function together. I hope I've answered the question.
Right. We have got another question from Pritam Shubhrodotto. It will be revolutionary if it can be implemented through PPP with telecommunication platform. But who ensured the data security? Anyone, sir, would you love to answer this question?
May I ask what PPP stands for?
Public-private
partnership.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, got it.
Jignesh, can you kindly answer this question?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So I think from a technical standpoint, it would be the blockchain ledger, or if let's say, for example, the blockchain was used as the underlying platform to enable this solution, the security of the data and exposure of the data based on who is accessing it and what level of information needs to be accessed will be controlled completely by blockchain. Hope that answers the question.
All right. Thank you for all of your times. We're coming to the last part of this session. It's an open question and answer session. Solaiman bhai, you have got some questions, so you can ask, and like we will try to wrap this session up within 10 minutes. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, did you ask me to ask the question?
Yeah, you have said like you have got some questions.
Yeah. I had a couple of questions, but maybe I think since it is at the very last moment, I will ask Brigadier Nasim sir if he has any questions. Maybe we can prioritize that. I can ask my questions to IBM later also.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, let me give thanks to guy who presented. Name is Jignesh. Jignesh was giving an example. Of try actually. In fact, in 2017, I visited Delhi with my chairman, basically. So I had actually meeting with the TRI chairman about exactly the issue that you're talking about the unwanted SMS. So the arrangement that TRI did is that they said me that okay, what we do is that first of all, those who wants to actually the advertising firm or those who want to deliver the SMS, they got to register with the TRI first, and then only then they are authorized to send. At the same time, the customer, the subscriber, they have the options to choose which kind of messages he wants to actually receive. So if he doesn't want to receive something, he won't receive. So that day I did not really know that so the blockchain was behind that, But I took the idea, right from there in 2017. But at that time, actually, I was the DG Spectrum Management. I was dealing with the spectrum and the frequency. So this year in January, again, I have joined the BTRC with the DGSS, and probably Solaiman bhai will be happy or unhappy, I don't know. I have picked up the project, and actually we are going to solve it. We have already started doing it, the small scale, as we have introduced like the DND, the do not disturb, these options. Now, actually, what we are doing is that we call it SMS aggregator, the guy who actually is being the mediator, who actually takes the messages or take the work order from different organizations, those who want to send SMS, then they connect with the mobile company. So these guys, we are registering them with the BTRC. And then actually what we are going to do is that we are going to differentiate between the transactional message and the the messages which are promotional in nature. And then definitely we will make an arrangement, a technical arrangement with the mobile operators. And the guys who have already registered for the DND do not want to take it, so the message will not be delivered. Here also, yes, the blockchain can come in. What my suggestion is that probably what you can do is that so long it is not absolutely a financial issue, and the mobile companies within them, they can do it with talking to the telecom regulator, because always we try to have a visibility of all kinds of transactions that mobile operators do. This is a part of the audit requirement. So if they can really do it, and they're using the blockchain and not any financial transaction, but the other data, the thing which you said about it, sure, BTRC will definitely accept it. The way you had been showing in your table in a presentation, there is some pilot project. In my initial talk also I was talking about, for the blockchain in Bangladesh, there has to be some pilot project. Probably at the end of, first of all, the mobile companies can come in, they can take permission, this kind of thing. And if it makes a success, and why shouldn't it be success? Because it has already been successful in many other places. That's what you can start doing it, So that's my part of it. Yeah, I wanted to just share with you. Thank you.
Sir, I want to add here. Sorry, Imran bhai. Sir, basically, sir, the DND services is not properly working, sir.
I told you that we have implemented only the partial part of it. So I don't blame the mobile operators. Whatever they are supposed to do, they have done it. The DND as of now means that the mobile operator, once somebody will activate DND, means he will not receive promotional SMS of that particular operator. That has been done.
Sir, sir, I have enabled my Robi SIM, but I am continuously receiving a lot of SMSs from different operators.
No. I told you this. You have to understand my talk. If you have enabled Robi DND, you are not supposed to receive any promotional SMS from Robi. But if
sir, I have received from Robi as well, sir. That's the issue.
Robi. So then you can certainly complain to us. Look into that. But if you have not signed anywhere, like Agora, you have went.
No.
And you
No.
Then you can forward it to actually me.
Definitely, sir. What about, sir, other operators' SMS?
That's what I'm talking about. The SMS aggregators who are enlisting it by 2 months, like by the June and July, we are going to enlist all of them. All the SMS aggregator will be, they got to be enlisted. Without enlistment, they cannot do this business. They will not be able to send any SMSs. We'll send a list of the registered SMS aggregator to the mobile operators. So mobile will check whether they are enlisted with the BTRC. Then SMS, they will have a tagging SMS. Okay, this is a transactional SMS. This is a promotional SMS. If it is a transactional, it will be delivered. If it is a promotional, then it's going to check. The mobile operator will check whether this subscriber has already activated DND or not. If they've activated, so you will not receive. That is how probably we'll be able to solve probably in the month of August. For the August, then we can talk to each other, and I think we can handle it.
Sir,
right. Thank you, sir.
That's what exactly, sir, blockchain is offering, sir.
Yes. We are coming to the end of this session. For last couple of minutes, if anybody wants to add something regarding this topic. We can start
I
with
want to-
Jitan, and
You can
yeah.
just maybe one quick comment is that sir, if it makes the customers happy, I am always happy. So this is something that I just wanted to say. And
Sure.
finally, I think I just want to maybe ask one bit of it to, let's say, not only IBM but everybody involved in this. I mean, we have to start somewhere, right? So that is the I think the hardest step possible to where to really start. So maybe it would be good if you can very quickly tell us that, for a market, you've been observing this market, as you said, and you are working with some of the players. But when you're talking to us as telecom, and also BTRC being present here, where would you advise as experts, not from IBM maybe, but as experts, that we should start as a use case in implementation? Just very shortly, maybe.
Sure. I'll take a stab at the answer. Alam, there is probably two ways I would probably say to start off. And I think, again, for me, the idea of doing any technology project is very simple. Either I make you money or I basically save you money. If I'm not doing any one of those, let's not even have a discussion, because then I'm wasting your time, to be honest. Now, if there is a use case that I think I can actually save you money, for me, that's a settlements use case. Currently, you have interconnect settlements, you have OTT settlements, you have partner settlements. Blockchain is 101 use case for settlements. And the idea, what we have been telling, we'll be having some discussions with the telecom players, is like, just you can start with your vendors and your partners. And today, your Grameenphone, can Bangla Link come on it? Yes, then it becomes a software as a service. Can then other Robbie come on it? Yes, software. Because in the end of the day, let's be very honest, right? The ecosystem is the same. If I'm Ericsson, I provide hardware to you, I provide hardware to Bangla Link. Could it be that's pretty much your optimization use case? If you have support of BTRC, then UCC or MNP is a use case altogether. Again, these are money-saving use cases. Just to put numbers, Alam bhai, today in India, for mobile number portability, it's 30 cents for every transaction. We had told Try we will do it for less than 1 cent. So less than 10 cents. Now, if you think about the multi-million transactions that take to the portability, that's a straight, the recovery is pretty much the first 1 year. So if the idea is that if I want to kind of start with your own ecosystem that's in control, which is the other telecom players, if you can get BTRC support, more portability. If it's just operational support, then basically settlements actually works. Now, if the idea is that we can go bigger, because you know what, all the enterprises are your clients, right? Let's take my pharmacy use case, right? I am pretty certain all the pharmacies are your clients because they use your enterprise services. Now, can we do an e-pharmacy use case only for a small area? Let's just take half of Dhaka, or let's say 2 neighborhoods in Dhaka. Can we target with them? You don't need to target the entire country on first shot. We can do smaller pieces. And this is whatever I'm suggesting are use cases and assets that I actually have. If you tell me, let's take a completely different use case, then my order will be, let's sit down, let's think business case. Am I benefiting you? Am I saving money? Am I benefiting everybody else? Then we go ahead. But these are the quick win use cases that you can probably start on. Again, of course, ecosystem support is very important. But because you're such a strong incumbent player, you may probably be able to win these use cases. That would be my recommendation advice. Jignesh, I don't know if you have a different point of view.
No, I think perfect, Jitan, because there are two set of use cases, and every set of use case has its own set of challenges also, right? Settlement use case is within the operator use case. You have control over your partners, your ecosystem providers, and you can execute that, do a test bed around it, and then see what are the benefits that you can reap out of it. If you want to play big across all the telecom operators and say that I want to stand out as the first operator who has implemented or adopted blockchain as an overall platform for implementing a use case, then UCC or MNP becomes one of the scenarios that you want to start off with, right? So it depends on how you want to play it, and obviously there are a lot of scenarios around whether you want to take cost out, whether you want to do a cost takeout, or you want to build revenue generating services, right?
I hope we've answered your question.
Thank you.
Also, one last remark, Mr. Parvez, if the idea that we can actually have a session with you where we explain you the length and breadth of what we did with TRI and UCC, and in some cases how the discussion. So if there is any time that you can give us as time to kind of help us walk through the end to end of it, we'll be more than glad to have that session. In fact, we've been trying to kind of knock on the doors of BTRC for exactly the discussion. So please let us know if there's something we can help you with. Finally, Imran bhai, I guess my last point, blockchain is pretty much real. It is here. It is happening across most of the industries. Yes, I think Alam bhai asked the right question. Where do I start? Till you don't spend as much time as you want for that question. Otherwise, I can tell you that out of every 1,000 use cases you actually hear, about 800 will actually never see production. So yes, the first initial diligence is critically important. And I think, again, that's where probably IBM can best add value. So that would be, I guess, my closing remark. Thank you again for this invite.
Can I add something?
Imran bhai, you're on.
Yes. So we are coming to the end of this session, and it's amazing having you all in this session, and we are looking forward
Imran bhai, just give me 1 minute. See, basically, blockchain is
only 1 minute.
Blockchain is something that will increase your ROI to 590%. You have to trust me. Basically, this has been done by Forrester, an independent technology consulting company, with consultation of 6 of the IBM's client. 590% ROI on most of the cases. That's what I'm trying to focus. 590% ROI.
Okay, thank you, Anonto bhai, for your closing remark, and we'd love to thank everyone for your time, and we're looking forward to the upcoming sessions on blockchain in coming days. Hope you will have a good day today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Very much. Assalamu alaikum.